Hi, this is the Business Guy. So what's your first impression of offshore companies and offshore banking? At first blush, you may have the impression that offshore banking is illegal or for bad guys to hide their money from the authorities. In fact, many of the movies and shows we see on TV portray super wealthy individuals squirreling away money into offshore accounts to evade taxes or launder ill-gotten gain. I see some of the comments on our online posts where we advertise for people who want to expand their businesses internationally. Yeah, but you have to pay your taxes. Yeah, but the IRS will catch you. This should be illegal. First of all, company policy is to not even have the word tax in our advertisements. After all, U.S. people are taxed on worldwide income. The exact same person who typed that comment is typing on a mobile phone or computer that was assembled by someone offshore who works for an offshore company that has an offshore bank account. Even if it was an Apple phone or computer, it was manufactured offshore for Apple, who is notorious for utilizing offshore companies. We see it on the news all the time. The person typing the comment either drives a car made by a brand represented by an offshore company, or they have computer chips in their car that was manufactured by an offshore company. The clothes on their backs, shoes on their feet were undoubtedly manufactured by an offshore company. The TV they watch in their home was made by an offshore company, as there aren't any TVs made in the US anymore. Yet they are pointing their fingers at offshore companies simply because they have no idea about how the offshore world really works other than watching spy movies. And if you appreciate this free information, please click the like button below so YouTube promotes this video. Thanks so much. And you can also click the subscribe button below so that when more videos come out like this, you'll be up to date right away. So putting your money offshore, offshore banking, offshore company formation, offshore trust formation is a good thing. It's legal, as long as you obey all the laws and you pay your taxes. I mean, think about it. Toyota didn't set up all these offshore companies in the US to do something sneaky and illegal. They did it because they wanted to expand their business. Apple didn't set up all these companies offshore to do illegal things and launder drug proceeds from the authorities. No, they did it to expand their business. Hey, people drink alcohol and then hop in their cars and drive around endangering people's lives. That doesn't mean we ban all cars. We just ban that one person, and people like them doing illegal things. So an offshore company, offshore banking, isn't good or bad in and of itself. It's how the people use it. And that's why it's important when you set up an offshore bank account, set up an offshore trust, to make sure you have professional people, such as a CPA, to make sure you're keeping legally compliant, an attorney to make sure you're doing good and honest legal things. I mean, sure, our company wants a lot of business. We want a ton of business, but we only want good, clean, honest, ethical business, not business that'll get us into trouble. And I would imagine you want the same thing. The offshore services industry consists of people who realize they must keep legally compliant if they want to keep doing business. I've been in this business for over 30 years and work with providers around the world who are very serious about only doing business with people who want to operate above board and comply with the law. So how do we do that? How do we keep the good guys in and the bad guys out? Here's how it really works. In fact, every once in a while, we get people on the phone who are trying to play green eggs and ham with us on the tax evasion issue. If I do it this way, can I save taxes? If I do it that way, can I save taxes? But if I put it over there and keep it there, if I put it over yonder and keep it over yonder, all those kind of questions we get asked. So we just assume that everybody who asks questions like that are just people trying to find out if we really are above board, if we really are people who want to obey the law and not help people do illegal things. I mean, we feel like we have to be like the security people at the airport. We don't even want to let one terrorist in the airport, not even one. We don't want to do business with one bad guy, one person who wants to do illegal things with what we offer, or one person who doesn't want to pay their taxes. After all, my father was a government worker for most of his career. I think almost 40 years he worked for the U.S. federal government. That's how we fed our family. My own grandfather was a U.S. Marine working for the U.S. government, of course. My own son, U.S. Marine. One of my sisters, full-time federal government employee. And I grew up with a strong patriotic duty and knowing the importance of keeping above board, keeping above the law. And those people that I know, the family members who were employees of the federal government, are really some of the most honest, wonderful, good-hearted people that I know. They're good-hearted, they really want to do the right thing, they really want to be ethical, and they really are good examples for me. Even my own son, just a great, good, hard-working, honest individual. Love him all to death. And I feel it's my patriotic obligation to obey the law and do right and make sure that people are not using our services in some type of illegal way. After all, it's not my job to tell Congress what to do. It's not my job to tell the IRS what to do. It's their job to tell me what to do, and I have to obey the law. If I want to live here, if I want to keep my business open, I have to do the right thing. So that being said, here are the main 7 layers of protection we have in place to help prevent tax violations and other unlawful or unethical issues. Number 1, company policy dictates not taking clients who intend to use our services for tax violations or other unlawful purposes or activities that are contrary to our ethics. For example, if somebody wanted to do something like use our services to open some type of a pornography website, we would decline doing business with them. I mean, what they're doing may be legal, but our reputation is more important. In fact, our filter is obey the law first, follow what we think is right first, and make a profit second. We also have a filter of making sure we're complying with our own ethical code as well. So that's number 1, to keep the bad guys out. Number 2 is due diligence. Prior to our international providers filing companies in most jurisdictions, we need to gather due diligence documents. This may include, but is not necessarily limited to, notarized copies of a client's passport or driver's license, an original utility bill or bank statement as evidence of residential address, and a bank reference letter. In such jurisdictions, the providers will not fulfill the order until we provide them with such documents. Number 3, background check. International service providers typically do background checks prior to filing companies or forming trusts. A common background program is called World Check, and they will usually decline providing services if they find items that are too unfavorable. Number 4, bank due diligence and background check. Prior to opening bank accounts internationally, banks also require significant due diligence. This may include, but is not necessarily limited to, a notarized photocopy of a passport, an original utility bill or bank statement as evidence of residential address, and a bank reference letter and or professional reference letter from an attorney and or accountant. And it is our understanding that the banks too perform background checks. Number 5, proof of source of funds. Prior to accepting deposits internationally, banks typically require a proof of source of the funds to help ensure the funds are of legal origin. Number 6, FATCA laws. The Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act is a 2010 United States federal law requiring all non-U.S. foreign financial institutions to search their records for customers with indicia or indications of a connection to the U.S., including indications of records of birth, prior residency in the U.S. or the like, and to report those assets and identities of such persons to the U.S. Department of Treasury. Now, once we really learned about what the law was, we were actually happy and excited about it because that took the burden off of our shoulders, and it made it much less likely that people intending not to pay their taxes would contact us to use our services. Our policy is we only want good, clean, honest business. There's plenty of good, clean, honest business out there. We don't want the bad guys. In fact, another policy that we have here that I tell all the employees, I tell them to imagine that every single phone call is being recorded. Everything they write, every communication with the customer will be kept and maintained, and if the recording of that call or any communication with the customer was played before a federal judge in open court, that whatever they wish that recording said is what they should say on the phone. I won't have anybody working here that I find out isn't obeying the letter of the law. I don't want it. I don't want the business. My filter is obey the law first, make a profit second. It's as simple as that. Number 7, testifying. If these filters do not catch the people who violate the law, I've been brought to testify as a witness for the U.S. government opposing people who have not complied with the law. In fact, I flew to Anchorage, Alaska as a witness for the federal government. In July of 2012, I flew to Dallas, Texas as a witness for the federal government. I believe that was April 13th, 2017. Now, in both these cases, I was required to appear. The government made me do that, but I was a witness for the government. So the key thing is we want to be honest and ethical. We want to obey the law. We want to do the right thing. I believe that we should pay our taxes. I believe we should take advantage of all the legal tax deductions, but in the end pay. After all, if you live in the U.S., we live in what many people consider the most wonderful country in the world, full of freedom, full of security, full of prosperity, and all the good things that so many of us enjoy and often take for granted. That is, if you're not gorging on news headlines. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'd really appreciate it if you could please click like below, click subscribe if you haven't already, We'll see you next time. This is The Business Guy.